Hello, and welcome to Science for Sleep, where curiosity lulls in silence and science is told in the breath of dreams. Tonight, you don't need to remember anything. Just relax and let your mind drift. We'll take off slowly because you're already in orbit. It's funny, isn't it? You've been an astronaut your entire life, and no one gave you a badge. Because Earth itself is a spaceship, silently coasting around a star at 30 kilometers per second. That's fast enough to circle the whole planet in under an hour if we weren't glued down by gravity and brunch plans. But you are moving. Even now, as you lie back, your atoms hum quietly. Your bones, your eyelids, your dreams are drifting through space. Not metaphorically, literally. That cozy bed of yours? It's on a blue marble, tucked between the sun and the silent dark. And like all marbles in space, it's rolling smooth, endless, and so quiet. Like a lullaby sung by the universe in reverse. Maybe you've never thought about it, but you've never been still. Not for a second. Your bed spins with the Earth's rotation. Your city slides across the planet's curve. The planet orbits the sun, which loops around the galaxy, which itself is moving towards something, or maybe away from it. No one knows for sure. It's space. It doesn't text back. But even with all that motion, here you are still, safe, and slowly letting go. Close your eyes, if you haven't already. Can you feel it? Not the spinning, that's too smooth, but maybe the thought of it, a soft pull at the edge of awareness. Now imagine this. You're standing on a beach, looking up at the stars, but instead of stars, they're the tail lights of planets in traffic, each one humming, swirling, blinking in their orbits like fireflies with no bedtime. You're not watching them from the outside. You're in the flow. You're part of it. There's something comforting in that. Like realizing you're already buckled in, seat tray up, and the journey began long ago. No countdown necessary. Speaking of countdowns, rockets are dramatic, sure. But space itself? Space is patient. You don't explode into the cosmos. You coast into it. Like slipping into a warm bath with stars instead of steam. Here's a little scientific truth for you. The Earth doesn't orbit the sun in a circle. It moves in an ellipse, like a slightly squashed loop. And the sun? It doesn't just sit there. It's flying through the galaxy, dragging the planets behind it in a lazy corkscrew, like streamers tied to the back of a car at a cosmic wedding. So really, you're not orbiting the sun. You're spiraling with it forever. Kinda romantic, in a dizzying way. And while you're drifting here, your head on a pillow, your thoughts already liquid. Think about this. Every molecule in your body came from a star. Carbon, calcium, iron, forged in ancient explosions. Scattered, recycled, now snoring. Yes, even your weird little pinky toe is made of stardust. Even your dreams, even the ones that don't make sense. So, what is space? It's not just up. It's not even out there. It's everything. It's where atoms come from. It's where your body is still going, even now. And it's not as far away as you think. Technically, space begins about 100 kilometers above your head. That's like the distance from your house to a good noodle shop. We've built planes that almost touch it. Some balloons have. And one person, the incredibly chill-sounding Felix Baumgartner, jumped from the edge of it. He wore a suit, obviously. You'll need one of those. Space doesn't do casual wear. But here's the quiet surprise. The moment you leave Earth's atmosphere, you don't feel like you're flying. You feel like you're falling because there's nothing to push against. No wind, no friction, no resistance. Just you, suspended, like a thought in someone else's dream. And maybe that's what tonight is. A gentle thought, in the dream of the universe. No hurry, no noise, no schedule, just orbit, just drift, just sleep. If you found this peaceful or thought-provoking, or simply need a voice to accompany you, I would be so grateful if you liked the video, subscribed, or shared this bit of quiet with someone in need. You're still floating. No need to move. The story carries you. Now, breathe in, slowly, and imagine what would happen if the air around you simply disappeared. That's space, a place where air is a luxury, a place that doesn't even try to keep you alive. And yet, we go anyway, because humans are stubborn and curious and a little weird. Let's talk about spacesuits. They're not just outfits. They're not fashion statements for the interplanetary runway. They're personal survival pods. Every time you see an astronaut suit, you're looking at a wearable spacecraft. A soft machine that holds a little bit of Earth inside it, air, warmth, pressure, so you don't melt, freeze, or, well, pop. Because here's a soft, terrifying fact to drift with. In the vacuum of space, your blood doesn't boil, exactly, but it would start to bubble. That's not scary. That's just physics having no chill. See, without pressure, liquids begin to evaporate at body temperature. So your spit would boil first. Not your blood because it's pressurized inside your body. But still, not ideal. So we build suits and pressurize them and wrap them in layers like an anxious burrito. A modern NASA spacesuit. It has 14 layers. Thermal insulation, radiation protection, micrometeoroid shielding, and built into the back is life itself. A backpack full of oxygen, cooling tubes, and fans, all humming softly, keeping you alive in a place that never asked you to visit, and you walk or float in it. A gentle bubble of earth around your body. It hisses slightly, breathes with you, listens to your heart. Now picture this. You're outside the International Space Station. The Earth curves blue and endless below you. The stars blink, but they don't twinkle because there's no atmosphere to wobble their light. And you're holding onto a bar with one gloved hand. Just one. Because you're repairing something, like a sleepy, floating plumber. Your other hand adjusts a tiny bolt. Inside your helmet, you're humming. Maybe an old jazz tune. Maybe something ridiculous, like the jingle from your childhood cereal. No one can hear you, except you and the stars, probably. And you know what? You're not scared. You're serene. The silence out here doesn't scream. It wraps around you like velvet. No birds, no traffic, just the distant click of your suit's life support. Like a metronome for your breath. That silence is strange, because back on Earth, silence usually means something's wrong. But out here, silence means everything's working. Your body has adapted. Your lungs breathe rhythmically. Your suit whispers to you through tubes and sensors. And your mind? It starts to wander. Maybe you think about your kitchen, the noise of water boiling, the hiss of a kettle, how loud life is. Or maybe you remember something small, a smell, a song, a moment when someone touched your hand and didn't say a word. In space, that's all you have, memories wrapped in silence. And the thin hum of your own pulse. Let's get technical again, but only a little. Your suit maintains about 4.3 psi of pressure. That's less than half of what you're used to on Earth. But it's enough. It gives your body the pressure it needs to keep your insides from turning into a science experiment. And temperature? Outside your suit, The sun-facing side can reach 250 degrees Fahrenheit, 120 degrees Celsius. The dark side can drop to negative 250 degrees Fahrenheit, 160 degrees Celsius. Hotter than boiling oil, colder than dry ice. You are the marshmallow in the cosmic s'more. So, how do you stay comfy? Liquid cooling garments. Yes, astronauts wear something like a space onesie, full of tiny tubes that circulate cool water around the body. It's basically a lazy river inside your underwear. No, really. It's one of the reasons you don't faint in that massive suit. That and duct tape. No, not for you. For floating stuff. But we'll get to that later. Now picture this. You take a deep breath in your helmet, and you know it's recycled. That oxygen? It was exhaled by a plant, probably years ago. Bottled, cleaned, stored, shipped, and now it lives in you. And in a few seconds, it becomes you. That's the funny thing about air. It's forgettable on Earth. It's the background hum of life. But in space, air is a gift. Every breath a small miracle. Kind of makes you want to whisper, doesn't it? Just to say thanks. To no one in particular. Maybe to the engineers. Maybe to your suit. Maybe to that tree in Ecuador that exhaled your last breath before it was canned and launched. Who knows? Everything's connected. Inhale, pause, exhale, just like the earth does, just like stars do, just like you don't know, sinking deeper into the blanket of sleep. Your body is soft, your breath is even, and your suit? It's made of carbon, polyester, human worry, and a little bit of hope, because space isn't against you. It's just indifferent. And we built clothes to love us when the universe doesn't care. Now float. Let your arms drift. Let your thoughts drift farther, into the quiet hum of systems keeping you alive. And rest. The moon is watching you, not in a creepy way, more like a quiet neighbor peeking over the fence every night. Always there, always distant, always pretending it wasn't eavesdropping on your dreams. You've seen it so many times. Crescent, full, gibbous, whatever that means. Sometimes orange, sometimes white. Sometimes it's just gone, playing shy behind clouds. But tonight, we're drifting closer. No spaceship needed, just your breath and a bit of wandering. Let your body go still and float with me up through the wispy folds of atmosphere where clouds look like spilled milk on blue velvet, past the thin shimmer where air gives up, and there it is, the moon, silent, dry, cratered like someone played cosmic golf with rocks the size of cities, and yet, somehow, familiar, as if you've walked there before in a dream you forgot to write down. Let's land gently. No booming thrusters, no dramatic countdowns. Just the soft whisper of your boots meeting lunar dust. Did you know? That dust smells like spent gunpowder. Astronauts tracked it into the lander, and it clung to them like curious static. It's not actual gunpowder, just the scent of sun-baked minerals finally meeting human nose hairs. The moon's surface is older than any place you've ever stood. 3 to 4 billion years of silence, of meteor impacts, of waiting, and yet it's only 3 days away by rocket, closer than your last weekend getaway. The moon isn't that far. It just feels far, because it's quiet, because it doesn't text back. Still, we visited a few times, bounced around in awkward suits, left behind flags, footprints, golf balls, and bags of poop. Yes, astronauts littered the moon with frozen souvenirs of human biology, but also science, retroflectors, little mirror panels that bounce lasers back to Earth. So we can measure the moon's distance with mind-blowing precision. Turns out it's drifting away from us. About 8 centimeters a year, like a friend you used to call daily, now replying with K. But that's okay. We'll visit again. People keep saying, we're going back. To build things. To stay longer. To set up a camp, or maybe a suburb. Moonbase Alpha. Or something less exciting, like Lunar Resource Hub. Bureaucracy doesn't dream poetically. But you, right now, you're free to dream without paperwork. So go ahead. Wander gently. Let your boots crunch the soft regolith. Imagine a little window built into the side of a crater. Inside, a bed, a warm light, a floating kettle. You sit on the edge, sip your tea, watch the earth rise. Yes, Earthrise. It's one of the most poetic things space has given us. Photographed in 1968 during Apollo 8. Blue marble rising above grey silence. A world with colour rising over one that forgot it. Sometimes, to see where you are, you have to leave. That's what the moon did for us. It turned the camera around, and suddenly, we weren't conquerors. We were caretakers. Small, fragile, beautiful. The moon itself is not made of cheese. I'm sorry, but it is made of ancient lava plains, and highlands, and crusty silence. And inside, probably still warm, like the center of a baked potato left out too long. Its gravity is 1/6 of Earth's Pounce T5, so you could leap like a deer in slow motion. You'd feel weightless, but not quite. That's what makes it fun. Bouncing, drifting, landing like a sleepy cat in low gravity. Some astronauts said they felt euphoric. Others said it was like dreaming awake. I think you'd love it. You, floating just above the ground. Each step a poem, each breath a memory, and no one rushing you. That's the thing about the moon. It doesn't hurry. It pulls at the oceans and your blood, and it does so without deadlines. Did you know your body responds to lunar gravity? Not in obvious ways, but the tides inside you, hormones, sleep rhythms, maybe even dreams, they listen. They follow. Some people feel restless on full moons. Others sleep like babies. Maybe that's coincidence. Maybe it's ancient memory. After all, for thousands of years, humans looked up at the moon and told stories of rabbits, of lovers, of gods and goddesses, of distant homes, and maybe you're telling one now. In the quiet theatre of your mind, the moon as stage, you as explorer. No flags, no pressure, just presence. And as you drift across this dusty, airless dream, you feel the gentle tug, not of gravity, of meaning, of belonging to something bigger than your bedroom, something older than your to-do list. You're not escaping Earth. You're just remembering that part of you never left the stars. And when the time comes, we'll build on this surface. Domes, greenhouses, libraries, little cabins with windows facing Earthrise, and maybe a swing, because even astronautes deserve play. But not tonight. Tonight is just for imagining, for letting go. Let your body feel lighter. Let your breath feel longer. Let your thoughts settle in low gravity. The moon doesn't mind if you sleep on it. It's been waiting a long, long time. And it will wait still, just for you. Mars is red, but not the kind of red you might expect. Not fiery, not angry, more like rusted memory. More like the inside of an old kettle that's seen too many sunsets. And tonight, you're headed there. No ticket, no rocket, just breath and drifting curiosity. Let your limbs go loose again. Let gravity release its polite grip. You're floating now, through time, through space, through the thin veil of sleep. And there out ahead Mars waits, smaller than Earth, colder, lonelier, but oh, so inviting in its quiet defiance. We call it the red planet, but really it's more of a dusty orange, the color of an old suitcase you once found in your grandmother's attic, full of forgotten things, dry things, things that once mattered. Mars used to have rivers. That's not speculation, that's science. We've seen the dried up valleys, the mineral stains left behind like ghost watercolors on stone. Even now, frozen under its dusty skin, Mars keeps secrets of ancient lakes. Can you imagine that? Water flowing under alien skis, waves lapping gently against red rocks. Maybe even fish that never knew light. Not anymore. Now it's dry, barren, but it doesn't feel dead. Not to you, not tonight. Because tonight, you get to wander. You land softly. Boots crunch on fine sand. A Martian breeze thin and cold passes over your helmet. There's no sound, only your breath and the soft whir of your imaginary suit. Mars has weather. Dust storms that stretch for thousands of miles. Winds that would scream if there were air thick enough to carry it. But it's quiet here, and safe, because this is the Mars in your mind. Your personal version, free from solar radiation and budget cuts. So walk, or float, or dreamwalk. Pass a boulder shaped like a reclining dog. Wave at the robotic rover's little machines, still whispering back to Earth. Some still work, some don't. One of them, Opportunity, stayed awake as long as it could. Its last message? My battery is low, and it's getting dark. A little robot poem. Mars may not have life, but it has stories. And you're walking through one now. Let's imagine something. A small habitat dome, half buried in regolith to keep out radiation. Inside, soft lights, pots of Martian-grown basil, a mug of something warm. Someone reads a book. Someone snores. Someone watches the Earth through a telescope because it's still their home, even from 54 million kilometers away. And you? You sit quietly on a Martian rock, thinking, feeling oddly calm. The gravity here is only about 38% of Earth's, so everything's easier. You can jump higher, lift heavier, sleep deeper, or maybe that's just the way your body reacts to less pressure. It says thank you and relaxes. Even your thoughts weigh less here. Funny, isn't it? How the absence of things air, gravity, noise can feel like a gift. Mars doesn't overwhelm. It whispers. You begin to notice details. A ridge shaped like a smile. A dust devil swirling in the distance like a dancing ghost. Tiny pebbles arranged by chance into the shape of a question mark. Mars is good at questions. Why did its water vanish? Could it come back? Was there life? Will there be again? These aren't loud questions. They don't demand answers. They just sit there, patient and red, waiting for someone to care. And we do. We've sent dozens of missions. Orbiters, landers, rovers. Each one carefully flung across space with hopes and hard drives. And someday, maybe not too long from now, we'll send people. They'll live there, grow food, make bricks from dust, whisper into radios. Miss Pizza, they'll build greenhouses, little sanctuaries of chlorophyll under red skies. Because even on Mars, plants give comfort. They clean the air. They anchor the mind. Imagine falling asleep under tomato vines, their leaves brushing your cheek as you dream of oceans. That's Mars, a place that once might have been wet, now dry, but still soft in its silence. A place that says, come try, not come conquer. Mars doesn't ask you to be a hero, just present, just curious, just alive. And isn't that enough? Here's something simple. Mars has seasons. They're just longer than ours. A year there takes about 687 Earth days. So spring, summer, fall, and winter all take their time. Mars doesn't rush, and neither do you. Not here. Not tonight. You lay back on a smooth patch of stone. Look up not at stars, but at Phobos and Deimos, Mars's tiny, misshapen moons. They look like potatoes. Haunted potatoes, perhaps, but charming in their own way. And they orbit fast. Phobos especially rises and sets twice a Martian day. Imagine that. 2 moons dancing across the sky, while you sip imaginary cocoa in your imaginary dome. Isn't that nice? The Earth is just a dot in the sky from here. A pale blue dot, as Carl Sagan called it. It's not lonely. It's distant, which is different. Loneliness is wanting something you can't reach. Distance is simply space between. And space, well, space is generous. It gives you room to think. And tonight, it gives you Mars. Rusty, quiet, waiting Mars. Not a backup plan for Earth. Not a fantasy world. Just a neighbor you're finally getting to know. And as your breath slows, as your body sinks into sleep, Mars remains, red and warm, in your memory, soft and strange, a dream you can always return to. You're still on Mars, but now you're inside. Not a spaceship, not a base, a garden. It's warm in here, bright, but not too bright. Soft LEDs mimic the sun, a bit lazy, a bit too pink, but they're enough, because the lettuce doesn't complain. You're in a hydroponic dome, a bubble of life in a place that has none, and everything smells slightly of wet plastic, basil, and recycled hope. You move slowly through rows of green, bright leaves, floating roots, each plant tucked gently into a system of tubes and trays, sipping on nutrient-rich water like polite little scientists. There's no soil here, just balance and careful chemistry, because growing food in space isn't about miracles. It's about pH levels, light wavelengths, and patience. Still, it feels like magic. And tonight, you get to wander between tomato vines and spinach towers, barefoot, quiet, amazed. You pluck a cherry tomato. It's warm from the light. You imagine biting into it. It tastes like sunlight that took the long way home. And then you laugh. Not loudly, just a little sleepy chuckle. Because for all our engineering, for all the talk of terraforming and starships, it's the salad that usually works first. True fact, one of the first things humans successfully grew and ate in space was lettuce. Red romaine, to be precise. On the International Space Station, they cleaned it with citric acid wipes, like it was about to attend a cocktail party. And when they tasted it slowly, reverently, it wasn't just about nutrition. It was about belonging, a leaf that didn't come from Earth, but from effort, and light, and love. So tonight, you rest among these plants, in a Martian greenhouse of your own making. You sit beside a cucumber vine and trace your finger along the edge of its leaf. Velvety, damp, alive. The air in here is different. It's been through the plants, scrubbed, refreshed, exhaled by basil, inhaled by you. A Kiet symbiosis. You and the spinach have an understanding now. In this dream, the greenhouse hums. Low fans circulate air. Condensation trickles down the inside of the dome like lazy rain. There's a corner where the microgreens are growing on felt mats, and in another tiny carrots, their green tops tickling the glass. There's even a little patch of wheat, not enough to make bread, but maybe enough to remind you what bread means. Back on Earth, gardens were everywhere, in backyards, on balconies, on rooftops and windowsills. But here, every leaf is a statement, every sprout, a flag, every strawberry, a whispered rebellion against the void. Food is survival, but also, food is comfort, and nothing comforts like fresh crunch and gentle color. Now walk to the composting bin. It's not gross. It's warm. It smells faintly of citrus and old lettuce. And it works. Even poop has a purpose on Mars. The plants don't judge. They just accept the nitrogen and move on. Remember that time we talked about crocodile poop sunscreen? No? That's okay. It was a different dream. Well, people have always recycled weird things. Here, you have to. Because nothing goes to waste when getting anything costs $1 million and 9 months of space travel. You sit near a blue barrel full of filtered water. It came from your own sweat, mostly. Filtered again and again, until it's clear, clean, and emotionally confusing. But you sip it, because you trust the system, and the system trusts you to keep sipping. There's a small speaker in the corner. It's playing earth sounds. A stream, some birds, wind through pine trees. No lyrics, just memory. It helps the lettuce grow. And you too. This whole place feels like a whisper that says, it's possible to live, to grow, to build something green in the middle of nowhere. And that's the future of humanity, isn't it? Not cities on Mars, not flags in dust, but small rooms full of breath and chlorophyll. Quiet places where something fragile takes root. You get sleepy, not just from the warmth, but from the rhythm, the hum of air pumps, the rustle of leaves, the soft blinking of sensors in the dark. You lie down on a padded bench beside a tub of arugula. Your fingers brush the leaves. They're cool, alive. They don't care about your credentials. They just make oxygen. The plants don't rush. They just grow, millimeter by millimeter, in silence. And in that silence, your thoughts settle. Not everything needs to be fast. Not everything needs to be loud. Sometimes, life begins with a leaf. Sometimes, hope tastes like spinach. And when we finally become an interplanetary species, when we build domes and cabins and homes far from Earth, it won't be the rockets we remember most. It'll be the gardens, the tiny, quiet miracles we grew with dirty hands and too much optimism. And you were there. You helped water the first Martian cilantro. You whispered to the potatoes. You recycled your breath into lettuce. And now you rest, among green leaves, under soft lights, floating, still. The future smells like basil, and you're already part of it, floating, not just in your imagination now, truly floating, not because you're dreaming, though you are, but because you've left gravity behind. You're in zero gravity, no up, no down, just around. It's not kite-like swimming. It's not like flying. It's more like forgetting what floor used to mean. Your arms drift. Your hair, if you've got any, floats like a lazy jellyfish. Your toes do a soft ballet, trying to find something solid. But there's nothing, just air, and the gentle hum of systems keeping you alive. Sleeping in space isn't like sleeping on Earth. You don't lie down. You don't flop into bed. You don't even really sink, because there's no down. Only wherever you clip your sleeping bag. Yes, clip. That's how it works. In space, if you fall asleep unclipped, you might wake up bumping gently against the ceiling, or your crewmate, or the air filter, which hums like an overly enthusiastic librarian. So you tuck yourself in. Imagine it, a small cocoon, sleeping bag anchored to the wall with Velcro straps and hope. You zip in, arms floating near your chest like you're dreaming of conducting a silent orchestra. And you just exist. No pressure points, no mattress, no turning over. Your body relaxes differently here. Your spine stretches out. You grow taller. Yes, really, astronauts gain up to 2 inches in height while in orbit. You, my friend, are slightly taller in this dream. It's strange at first, this sensation of floating sleep. Some people get motion sickness. Others sleep like babies, weightless babies with a PhD. You drift into that state now, supported by nothing, cradled by air. In microgravity, even your face changes. Fluids shift upward. Your cheeks puff a little. You get that space face look. Think, slightly confused chipmunk, but still handsome. Your sinuses feel odd. Your voice sounds a bit nasal. But your body? It says, hey, this is new, but not bad. Let's talk about dreams up here. Sleep in space isn't always easy. The absence of gravity confuses your body. Your circadian rhythm, the inner clock that tells you when to sleep, gets mixed up because there's no sunset, nor dusk. On the ISS, the sun rises and sets 16 times a day. Every 90 minutes, a new dawn, a new night. It's like living inside a disco ball of time zones. So astronauts wear eye masks. They darken the cabin. They train their minds to recognize when now means sleep, and they learn to nap in 3 dimensions. You can do that too. Tonight, just let go of the idea of a bed. Let go of left and right. Let go of tension in your legs, your shoulders, your fingers. Float. You're not falling. You're not flying. You're pausing. Everything in your body finds its own center. Blood doesn't pool in your feet. Your joint don't ache. There's no pressure on your hips, your spine, your neck. You don't turn over because you don't need to. You just are. Still. Suspended. Safe. Some astronauts say they sleep better in space. Others say it's like sleeping during a flight light. Dreamy, never quite anchored. Either way, they adapt. You do, too. Outside your sleeping pod, there's Earth. Always nearby. Always moving. Below you, cities flicker like dying embers. Thunderstorms flash silently over dark oceans. Auroras swirl like slow green fire. But in here, you're insulated, wrapped in a cocoon of hums and fabric and memory. Let's make it more cozy. There's a soft reading light above your face. You click it off. There's a photo velcroed to the wall. Maybe it's a dog, a tree, a person you love. You tap it gently with your finger, just because. Then you close your eyes, and even though your body floats, your mind begins to descend. Gently, slowly, not falling, sinking, as if the gravity you left behind still remembers how to reach you. Here's a fact that might help. When you close your eyes, alpha waves begin to oscillate, like a calm night tide touching the shore of consciousness. Your brain begins to shift, beta to alpha to theta, and soon delta, those slow waves that lull you into deep rest. You may feel like you're still spinning. That's okay. It's just your brain catching up to your body. Zero gravity makes everything drift, including thoughts. You're not used to silence this pure, not used to stillness without weight. But your breath remembers. In, Pause. Out, Pause. A soft rhythm that matches the hum of the cabin. That matches the heartbeat of the ship. That matches the rhythm of the stars. One crew member once said, "Sleeping in space feels like being held by nothing and everything." Let that be your cradle tonight. No floor, no ceiling, just stars and breath and time. You don't need to understand it. You don't need to fix anything. There's no gravity to pull you into worry. No alarms, no emails. Just the soft whisper of life happening. Your dreams might come tonight in loops, spiral-shaped, a dance of memory and light. Or maybe they'll be simple. A quiet garden, a floating book, the soft feeling of arms outstretched in the dark. Whatever they are, let them arrive. This pod, this sleeping bag, this floating room is yours. You made it. You earned it. And now you rest. Weightless, worryless, home for now. In the most unusual bed you've ever known. Silence. Not the kind you hear when someone tells you to be quiet. Not the pause between songs. Not the space after a sigh. This is different. This silence isn't the absence of noise. It's the absence of everything. No birds, no rustling leaves, no passing cars or distant footsteps. Not even wind, because out here, in the vacuum of space, sound doesn't travel. It can't. There's no air to carry it. No molecules to bump into each other. No one for it to tap on the shoulder. In space, you can scream all you want. No one will hear you. Not because they're ignoring you, but because physics says, "Nope, that's not how I work." But that's not scary. Not tonight. Tonight, it's peaceful. You're inside your little ship now, tucked between solar panels and circuit boards, protected by thin metal and thick math, floating through the quiet. And as the hum of machines fades to background, you begin to notice something else. The absence. No engines roaring, no rumbles, just hums. Controlled, constant, calm. You press your ear against the wall of the spacecraft. Nothing, not even a whisper, because outside, only vacuum, only nothing, and the nothing is vast, deafeningly quiet. Imagine walking into a cathedral made of shadows, where even your breath sounds like thunder, where silence wraps around you like wool soaked in stillness. That's space. And here's the odd thing. Your brain isn't used to it. On Earth, your ears are always doing something. Even when you sleep, they catch the creak of floorboards, the buzz of distant street lamps, the wind saying hello to your windows. But here, nothing knocks, nothing leaks, nothing breathes but you, and your own breath becomes the loudest thing you know. That gentle in, pause, and out, like a wave on a beach that forgot how to crash. Your heartbeat too seems louder. Thud, thud, like a sleepy drummer, keeping rhythm for the stars. At first, this kind of silence unnerves people, because when there's no sound, there's only thought, and thought, when left alone, starts wandering. But soon, it becomes a comfort, a blanket made not of warmth, but of absence, because silence can hold you. Let's float into a little memory. An astronaut, alone on a spacewalk. She's fixing a panel. Her hands move slowly, deliberately, each motion practiced, each click of the wrench felt in her glove. But she hears nothing. Her tools don't clink. Her movement don't swish. The stars offer no applause. She's inside a soundless dream. The only thing she hears? Her own breath, and the occasional murmur from mission control, like a whisper across a long hallway. And she thinks, this is the quietest moment I've ever lived. You might think silence is boring, but out here, it's sacred. It gives space for things you usually ignore, like how your fingers feel, how your thoughts twist gently when unbothered, how your memories surface, soft and blurry, like underwater postcards. Silence lets you hear yourself, not your voice. Yourself. A moment ago, we talked about sleeping in zero gravity, how it feels like being held by nothing and everything. Now add silence to that. A silence so thick it begins to feel solid. A silence that presses on you, not to frighten, but to soothe. It says, I'll hold your noise for you. You can rest. And you do. You drift in that hush. Eyes half closed. Limbs loose. Heart open. This ship, this pod, this dream, it's a womb of silence. And outside, the stars blink. But they don't crackle. They don't sing. Even our Sunday, that noisy fireball, we've never heard it, only seen it. We translate its waves, turn radiation into music. But space has never let us hear the real thing. Isn't that odd? We live in a world of sound, but the universe, mostly mute, and that's beautiful, because silence makes room for wonder, for listening, for rest. In the absence of noise, you find presence. Now let's turn inward. What's the quietest memory you have? A snowfall, maybe? That moment right before sleep? Or when someone held your hand and said nothing? Silence, at its best, is intimacy. And space? Space is full of it. Galaxies drift apart without complaint. Black holes spin in perfect hush. Nebulae stretch and shimmer with the elegance of smoke, and not one of them makes a sound. But tonight, you don't need words. You don't need a narrator, really. Just breath, and quiet, and the soft reassurance that silence isn't emptiness. It's fullness, without friction. So sink into it. Let the quiet fold around you. Let your breath become the only song. Let your mind stop reaching for noise, for structure, for what's next. There is no next. Only now. Only this. You, floating, held, weightless, wordless. And the stars, watching, not speaking, just being, exactly like you. Well, we've talked about silence in space. Now let's talk about something less poetic. Let's talk about space toilets. Yes, that part of being human. Even out here amidst the stars and dreams and science fiction hush, you still need to go. You, dear sleeper, are a biological wonder, but also a slightly messy one. And space? Space doesn't pause for dignity. So tonight, we drift gently into the mechanics of the most underappreciated hero of any space mission, the humble space toilet. It's not glamorous, it doesn't sparkle, but it works, mostly. And that's more than you can say for some hotel bathrooms on Earth. You might be wondering, how does it work without gravity? How do you aim? Well, it's a dance of suction, airflow, straps, and courage. Imagine this. You're floating in a small, softly humming room. Everything is velcroed to everything. You drift toward a silver tube with a funnel at the end. You strap yourself in. Position matters. There's no seat, no lead, just trust and airflow, because gravity won't help. Everything that leaves your body must be encouraged. So there's a fan, a rather intense fan, whirring inside the toilet, creating suction to pull waste away from your body and into containment tanks. It's not dramatic. It's not noisy, but you definitely don't want it to break. And yes, it has broken, more than once. Let's just say duct tape and patience are universal currencies. In space, every drop matters. Waste isn't waste. It's just future resources in the wrong place. Urine, for instance, filtered, cleaned, turned back into drinking water. That's not gross. That's impressive. You could be sipping atoms from yesterday's tea, recycled, reborn, still a bit warm. And your solid waste? Well, it's stored, dried, compressed, sometimes burned in the atmosphere, sometimes studied, sometimes left behind in bags on the moon, as we mentioned earlier. Those frozen gifts are still there, quietly orbiting our collective embarrassment. But here's something beautiful. The smell of space? It doesn't come from waste. It comes after a spacewalk. When astronauts return and repressurize, they describe a scent. Burnt metal, seared steak, welding sparks, or as one person put it, ozone mixed with gunpowder. But there's no smell in space. So where does it come from? The theory is this. High-energy particles from the vacuum interact with the metal and fabric of the suits. When you re-enter the cabin, the particles react with the air, and voila, cosmic barbecue. But the real surprise is that, despite everything, the silence, the void, the recycled water, the industrial suction toilet people adapt. They learn to laugh, to make jokes, to find poetry in the plumbing. One astronaut, when asked what she missed most about Earth, didn't say trees, didn't say her dog. She said, a flushing toilet. Sometimes, luxury is in the little things. Now, float back to your dream capsule. You're clean. You're content. You're not bothered by the idea of stardust showers or airlock bidets, because here, everything is just a part of the system. Like those tiny bags for bathing, you don't take showers in space. You wipe. You use rinseless shampoo. You dab at your skin like a sleepy cat with a damp cloth. And somehow, it's enough. There's a stillness to it. A quiediscipline. A way of being close to your body, not in vanity, but in gratitude. Because in space, your body is fragile. Every function monitored, every output measured. It's not invasive. It's intimate. And maybe that's the lesson. Maybe it's okay to think about the unglamorous stuff. The real, the raw, the human. Because we don't stop being human just because we're in orbit. We still breathe, eat, sleep, worry, and yes, poop. But we also adapt. We rise above the awkwardness. We find rhythm in routine. There's a checklist for everything up here. Even brushing your teeth. Take a pea-sized dot of edible toothpaste. Brush gently. Swallow or spit into a cloth. Float the toothbrush back into its Velcro holder. Everything has its place, and everyone learns to share close quarters with grace. You become more aware of the body, more forgiving of it, less ashamed, because your crewmates are floating too, and they get it. They've had the same weird toilet experience. They've bobbed mid-air while trying to wrangle toothpaste. It's bonding. It's ridiculous. It's wonderful. And you're drifting now, not just through this dream, but through a deeper understanding of what it means to be alive, to be a creature who dreams of stars, but still needs hand sanitizer. And it's okay. There's poetry in plumbing. There's dignity in duct tape. And as you settle into this moment wrapped in the hum of recycled air and filtered water, you realize something. This isn't about embarrassment. It's about existence. Raw, ridiculous, resilient. You're human, and space accepts you fully, toilet and all. You're not alone up here. Even if the stars seem endless and the silence thick, you're not drifting through the void entirely solo, because tucked into orbit around Earth is a strange humming home the International Space Station, and right now, you're floating through its long silver halls, gently pushing off handrails with your fingertips, letting your body drift just a little crooked, like a sleepy otter in a spaceship. The ISS isn't sleek. It's not some shiny sci-fi ship. It's more like a carefully assembled pile of air-conditioned Legos. Every module added over years. Some Russian, some American, some Japanese, European, Canadian. It's a patchwork, a floating quilt, held together by bolts, dreams, and international paperwork. And yet, it works. It's beautiful in its own quiet, humming way. You float past a porthole. Outside, Earth blazes blue beneath you. Clouds swirl like soft brush strokes. Lightning flickers in slow motion across the curve of a continent you can't quite name from this angle. And inside? Coffee. Let's talk about space coffee. It comes in pouches. You drink it with a straw. It doesn't pour. It floats. Little shimmering globes of liquid drifting around like caffeine fairies. You slurp them carefully. You don't want to inhale coffee into your lungs. Because while that's poetic, it's also not great. But somehow, it tastes just right. Because it's familiar. The smell alone brings you back to Earth. To kitchens. To conversations. To slow mornings and clinking mugs. Up here, coffee isn't just caffeine. It's comfort. And comfort matters in space. You pass by a crewmate. She's upside down. Or maybe you are. She's doing something important, typing on a floating laptop, tightening a valve, trimming a basil plant. You nod. She nods back. No one's in a rush. Everything takes time in zero gravity. And sometimes it takes tape. Lots and lots of tape. The unofficial motto of the ISS? If it moves and shouldn't, tape it. If it doesn't move and should, hit it gently. If that fails, Radio Houston. It's not glamorous, but it's real, and there's something deeply comforting about that. You float into the sleeping quarters, tiny booths, barely big enough to turn around in. Each astronaut gets a sleeping bag, a few photos, a laptop, and some Velcro dignity. There's a sock floating in the hallway. Someone will catch it later. Or not. Either way, it's fine. Because this place, it runs on cooperation, not perfection. The ISS is a rare place where countries that disagree on Earth nod at each other in space. Russian cosmonauts trade tea for American peanut butter. European astronauts bring fancy cheese. The Japanese module has the best lighting. Everyone agrees. No borders up here, just modules, connected. Click, latch, seal. It's a little like life. Imperfect, stitched together, constantly adjusted. But somehow it floats. You pass the cupolathe window to everything. It's a dome of glass, bolted to the underside of the station. And from here, you see Earth like never before, alive, turning slowly, framed in blue light and quiet motion. Storms spin in white spirals. Cities blink like coded messages. Deserts stretch in amber silence. And the sun, it peeks over the horizon every 90 minutes, floods the station in sudden gold, then disappears, then comes back, day and night, day and night, 16 times while you nap. Time gets strange up here. You stop measuring in hours. You start measuring in orbits. How many orbits until lunch? 2, maybe 3. You laugh softly, or maybe someone does. You pass the science lab. Experiments are running. Tiny crystals growing. Fluid swirling. Mice floating in tiny enclosures, looking mildly offended. Everything behaves differently in zero gravity. Flames become spheres. Water clings to surfaces like it's nervous. Muscles atrophy if not exercised. So, there's a gym. You float past it. A treadmill strapped to the wall. A bike with no seat, because sitting isn't really a thing up here. Elastic bands for strength. Astronauts work out 2 hours a day. Not for fitness, for survival. Because bones don't like space. They sulk. They lose density. So you bounce gently on your treadmill, listening to earth music piped through your headphones. Taylor Swift, Tchaikovsky, a podcast about ancient civilizations. Someone's floating by with headphones in. They're mouthing the words to something upbeat. It's probably ABBA. Let's be honest. There's a rhythm to this place. A quiet dance of bodies and tools and time. Wake, work, float, fix, eat, laugh, orbit, sleep, repeat, and slowly you become part of the station. Not just a guest, a node, a module, a heartbeat. You notice the little things, the way the lights dim slightly during night, the soft whoosh of air filters, the occasional clatter of a wrench bouncing off a wall. You smile, because it all feels normal. Even out here, even 400 kilometers above your house. This place is home, at least for now. And, as you drift back toward your sleeping pod tired, full of peanut butter and a little sunburn from the last window nap, you realize something. Space isn't empty. Not when it's full of people. Not when it's full of motion, mistakes, microwaved meals, and multilingual jokes. The International Space Station isn't just a machine. It's a hug. A floating reminder that humans, for all their weirdness, can build something beautiful together. Even in orbit. Especially in orbit. And now it's time to rest again. The Earth turns slowly outside the window. Your breath matches its rhythm. Your thoughts grow soft. You are part of this. Part of the orbit. Part of the team. Part of the dream. And sleep comes easily. Even here. Especially here. You're floating again. Not in the comfort of the International Space Station anymore. Now you're drifting toward another world. One that looks soft from far away. Golden. Cloud-wrapped, glowing like a dream inside a dream. Venus. You've probably heard it called Earth's sister planet. Roughly the same size. Similar gravity. About the same age. But oh, that's where the similarity ends. Venus is, well, let's just say, it's complicated. From up here, she's lovely. Cloaked in thick, swirling clouds, cream-colored, radiant. If planets were people, Venus would be that graceful figure at the party, backlit by candlelight, mysterious, silent, maybe dangereuse. And she is. Let's float a little closer, through the clouds, down into the heavy air. The temperature rises fast, faster than a desert at noon. It climbs and climbs until it settles at about 475 degrees Celsius, hot enough to melt lead, hot enough to fry pancakes without the pan, or the batter. And the atmosphere? Mostly carbon dioxide. Thick, crushing, 90 times the pressure of Earth's blank date dot. It would feel like being 900 meters under the ocean. Your helmet would collapse. Your lungs would never even get a chance. And then there's the rain. Ah yes, the romantic part. Venus rains, sulfuric acid. But not on the ground. No, because the surface is too hot for rain to survive. So the acid droplets fall, evaporate, then fall again, like a toxic ballet caught in endless rehearsal. Still sound dreamy? And yet, humans once landed probes there, in the 70s and 80s, the Soviets sent the Venera missions. They didn't last long. The longest-lived probe, Venera 13, lasted 127 minutes before it succumbed to the heat and pressure. But before it died, it sent photos: flat, cracked stones, a yellow sky, the kind of place that feels abandoned by comfort. Still, we keep dreaming about Venus, because it's close, because it might have been different, because we might have been different. There's a theory that Venus once had oceans, real ones, water, maybe even a hint of blue, but something tipped, a runaway greenhouse effect, heat trapping more heat, clouds thickening, water evaporating, a world unraveling in slow, steamy disaster. Venus shows us what can happen when balance breaks. It's not a warning, it's a reminder. But let's pull back now. You don't need to sweat. You're still safely in orbit, wrapped in thought, drifting in understanding. And you notice something strange. Venus spins the wrong way. Most planets spin counterclockwise. Venus, clockwise, very slowly. A day on Venus lasts longer than a year. That means if you stood on the surface, which you wouldn't, not unless you're feeling very spicy, you'd see the sun rise in the west and set in the east, backwards, slowly, like time itself forgot how to tick. You might feel disoriented, but also a little fascinated, because Venus doesn't care about your schedules. It moves to its own rhythm, and maybe that's part of its charm. This strange, hellish, beautiful world, glowing in our sky, mocking Putri, evading hope, and yet inviting imagination. Some scientists think we could live above Venus, not on the surface. No thank you, but 50 kilometers up, where the air pressure is similar to Earth's pressures, where the temperatures are less murderous, where blimps or floating habitats could drift in the clouds. It sounds like fiction, but so did airplanes. And talking to rectangles in your pocket, maybe someday we'll build a cloud city over Venus, with windows looking out onto endless golden storms, with quiet balconies where you can drink tea and pretend you're not floating above acidic death. Romantic in its own way. Venus reminds us that not every neighbor is hospitable, but every neighbor is worth knowing. You drift a little farther now, away from the thick atmosphere, back into quiet orbit. Venus shrinks beneath you, still golden, still swirling, still misunderstood. And you feel a little wiser, not because you survived anything, but because you saw it, and saw it clearly. Venus doesn't lie. She just doesn't explain. A world of mystery, of what might have been, of beauty wrapped in hazard. It's not a place for people right now, but maybe it doesn't need to be. Sometimes it's enough to admire from afar, to say, you're not for me, but I'm glad you exist. And as you turn back toward the deeper stars, toward Mars and moons and floating cities yet imagined, Venus lingers behind you, not forgotten, just understood. Finally, you drift back into silence, back into sleep, back into your small, cozy craft with its warm blanket of recycled air. The clouds of Venus recede in your mind, and something in you smiles, because in all its impossible chaos, it still looked like home from a distance. Now we go farther, not to another planet, but to a moon, a cold, quiet one, orbiting a giant. You're gliding toward Europa, one of Jupiter's children. From a distance, it's modest, just a bit smaller than Earth's moon. But beneath that surface, there's a secret, a deep, dark ocean. And tonight, you'll drift gently toward it. Europa looks like a frozen marble. Its surface is a crust of ice smooth in some places, cracked in others. Fractures crisscross the world like veins on a leaf, long lines of brown and red, tracing patterns you can't quite interpret. They look almost purposeful, like something moved underneath. And something did. Beneath Europa's ice, shall estimated to be 10 to 20 kilometers thickly is an ocean. Liquid water, salted, moving, tugged and warmed by Jupiter's gravity. Imagine that. A moon with no sunlight, and yet an ocean bigger than Earth's. Entire. Alive? Possibly. We don't know. But tonight you get to wonder. You float slowly down, through the icy crust. Your thoughts pass through layers frozen, ancient, silent, and then blackness. A deep sea with no surface waves. No sky. No storms. Just water. Everywhere. Dark. Quiet. Cold. And maybe not alone. Because where there is water, there may be life. Not cities, not flying saucers, but microbes, squishy things, little wigglers gliding near volcanic vents. Yes, vents. We believe Europa's ocean floor may have hydrothermal vents like Earth's deep oceans do, places where heat and minerals pour from cracks in the rock, where chemicals create energy, where life can exist without light. On Earth, those places are teeming. Tube worms, blind shrimp, entire ecosystems thriving in darkness. So why not Europa? Why not life beneath ice? You close your eyes, floating in this imagined sea, and you see them, tiny lights, bioluminescent creatures pulsing in slow rhythms, jellyfish that never needed eyes. Communities circling warmth like worshippers around a flame. They don't know about Earth. They don't know about you. But they live. If they're there, that possibility alone is enough to change everything. And that's what Europa does. It whispers, maybe. It reminds us that life doesn't need to look like us. Doesn't need air, or sunshine, or putri. Sometimes it just needs water, and time, and a bit of pressure in the right places. Europa's pressure is unique, not in the atmosphere because it barely has one, but from Jupiter. That massive planet stretches Europa, squeezes it like dough every time it orbits. That tidal flexing creates heat inside, enough to keep the ocean from freezing solid. It's a moon that should have been dead, but isn't. Let's suffice again. Back to the crust. You're standing now gently on ice, older than memory. The sky is black, but Jupiter looms above you, enormous, striped, turning slowly. It takes up most of the sky, like a ceiling painted by a god with too much time. You can see its storms swirling. The great red Spota hurricane, 3 times the size of Earth, churns lazily. Lightning flashes deep in its clouds, faint but steady, and you realize Europa is never alone. It's part of a system, a family. Io, volcanic and angry. Callisto, cratered and quiet. Ganymede, the largest moon in the solar system, bigger than Mercury. And Europa, the watery dreamer. You turn slowly, letting Jupiter's light fall across your face. It's dim. Sunlight has traveled far to get here, but it's still enough. Your shadow stretches long across the ice. And you think, maybe we don't need new Earths. Maybe we need new ways of listening, new ways of seeing life. On Earth, we once thought life needed warmth, light, air, but life keeps surprising us. It shows up in boiling springs, in nuclear waste, inside Antarctic lakes sealed for millions of years. Life is stubborn, and that stubbornness may have crossed oceans of space to settle here, beneath this moon, beneath this ice, you won't find it tonight. Not with drills or samples. But maybe you'll dream it. A whisper from the deep, a flicker in the dark, a shape moving just beyond reach. Is it real? Who knows? That's the magic of Europa. It doesn't answer. It just offers a possibility. And sometimes that's more powerful than proof. You lie back on the ice. It's solid, but somehow gentle. You watch Jupiter turn above you. You think of water, how it flows, how it hides, how it connects. Your body is mostly water. So is your brain. So is your breath. And beneath you, a sea, waiting, not for rescue, not for conquest, just for acknowledgement, and maybe, someday, a hello. For now, you rest. The ice supports you, the stars surround you, and below, the ocean waits quiet, deep, ancient. You don't need to go there tonight. You've already arrived. Now, imagine movement, but not the kind powered by fuel or fire, not rockets or explosions or chemical thrust. Imagine sailing through space, on a ship with no engine, no sails in the wind, no wind at all, only light. You're drifting now, slowly, aboard a solar sail, a real thing, a quiet thing, just you, and a shimmering sheet the size of a football field, unfurled like origami stretched thin over nothing. It doesn't flap. It doesn't billow. It just catches photons-tiny particles of light thrown from the sun. And yes, light has no mass, but it carries momentum, pushes, gently. It's not fast. At first, it's barely a whisper, a feather brushing against a feather. But that gentle push doesn't stop. It doesn't need fuel. It doesn't run out. And so, the longer you sail, the faster you go. Eventually, you could glide faster than any rocket ever built. Not with a roar, but with grace. There's something soothing about that, isn't there? Moving without burning, traveling without tearing through space. Just gliding, slowly accelerating, like a dream with direction. The sail above you is thin, almost invisible in places. Made of reflective material, maybe mylar or something even lighter. It gleams in sunlight. Each photon bouncing off its surface gives a little push. Thousands of tiny nudges. Billions. All adding up. You're not controlling this ship. You're not even steering. You just drift. Adjust the angle now and then. Let light do the rest. That's the poetry of a solar sail. And it's not science fiction. We've done it. The Japanese spacecraft Ikaros was the first to demonstrate it. And Lightsail, a project backed by curious humans with dreams bigger than bank accounts, followed suit. Each one a step towards slow, steady freedom from fuel. Think about that. A ship that never needs gas. Only space. Only time. Only patience. You lie on your back now, anchored by nothing. The stars wheel above you. The sun behind. The sail, shimmering above, like a metallic leaf dancing with invisible wind. And all around you? Silence. Softness. A sense of motion without urgency. You check your velocity. It's increasing. Imperceptibly. Beautifully. If you had decades or centuries, you could ride this sail out of the solar system, past Mars, past Jupiter, beyond Neptune, into the Oort cloud, past the silence we've mapped, and into the silence we haven't, maybe carrying a message, a golden record, a whisper from Earth, a hello with no return address, or maybe just you, floating, listening, traveling. It's funny, isn't it? That light something we think of as weightless can move us, guide us, accelerate us, like truth, all love, or thought. The sail creaks slightly, not because of wind, but because of the shifting tension of molecules adjusting to the vacuum. You smile, because you know this is the future. Not loud, not aggressive, but persistent, sustainable, infinite. You sip water from a pouch. It floats away in a tiny silver ball. You chase it with your tongue like a space lizard. It makes you laugh. Alone, happily. The stars don't respond, but maybe they wink. Behind you, Earth is shrinking. Not dramatically, not tragically, just slowly, like a memory. You're not leaving because you have to. You're sailing because you can. And that, maybe, is what matters. You adjust your angle just slightly. The photons nudge your sail with new direction. That's how it works. Tiny course corrections. Over time, they change everything. Like choices. Like dreams. Like whispered hopes, said to no one. You lean back. The sail gleams above. Somewhere out there, a comet passes. A silent traveler on a frozen ark. You raise a hand in greeting. It doesn't wave back, but you feel seen anyway, because in this space, everything is in motion, even stillness, and your sail is proof. You drift. You glide. You don't fight gravity, you outlast it. That's the beauty of light. It doesn't rush. It insists. And you let it carry you. Where? Who knows? Maybe to another star. Maybe to the edges of what we understand. Maybe just away. But in this moment, there's nothing to fix. Nothing to fear. Only the soft push of light and the long exhale of thought. You close your eyes. You're still sailing, even as you sleep. You've been floating a long time, through orbit, across planets, into moons and light-sailed silence. And now, in this soft midnight of the mind, a question rises slowly, like mist from a quiet lake. Where is everyone? You're in a galaxy with hundreds of billions of stars and billions of planets. Statistically absurdly, it seems almost impossible that we're alone. And yet, there's no knock at the door, no reply to the radio, nothing but cosmic voicemail. It's called the Fermi Paradox, named after physicist Enrico Fermi, who once looked up from his lunch and said, "Where is everybody?" If life is common, intelligent, curious, noisy life, then where are the greetings? The ships? The alien memes? And tonight, wrapped in the quiet hum of your imagined ship, that question lingers. Let's float in it, just for a moment. Maybe, just maybe, they are out there, watching, but politely. The zoo hypothesis suggests we're in a cosmic nature preserve, that advanced civilizations observe us quietly, waiting for us to mature, like overly optimistic camp counselors. Or maybe we've been ghosted. Maybe intelligent life is common, but social life isn't. Maybe they're just not that into us. You chuckle softly at the thought. Hey aliens, want to chat? Read message. No reply. Maybe the galaxy is full of introverts. Or maybe we're early. The early filter idea says intelligent life takes time. We might be the first to send out signals, the first to listen. If so, that's a big responsibility. Being the first is exciting, but also lonely. Still, it's kind of peaceful to be alone, for now, to be the first whisper in a very large room. Let's not rush the party. There's another theory. Maybe everyone talks, just not in ways we understand. Maybe they communicate in neutrinos, or gravitational waves, or quantum entanglement patterns that look like background noise to us. Imagine if Earth's first radio message sounded like static to someone using telepathy. We might be trying to text a fax machine. It's not that they don't want to talk. It's that we're speaking penguin and they're speaking sunlight. Another idea called the dark forest hypothesis says maybe everyone's afraid to speak. In a forest at night, you don't shout because you don't know who's listening. Maybe other civilizations stay quiet, deliberately, carefully, because shouting into the dark might invite a less friendly listeners. You pose. You're floating, after all, and there's no one else around, as far as you know, but it doesn't feel threatening. It feels peaceful, because maybe the silence isn't rejection, maybe it's respect. And perhaps the scariest idea, that life is common but doesn't last. That civilizations rise, burn brightly for a moment, then fade. Too fast, too fragile, and that's why the sky is quiet. If so, our job is to not fade, to last, to learn, to grow slowly and kindly. You drift back to the golden record, a real one, launched aboard Voyager in 1977, a 12-inch disc packed with sounds of Earth, birdsong, whale calls, laughter, greetings in 55 languages, a kiss, even a recording of brainwaves thinking about love. It's floating now, far beyond Pluto, still humming outward, no destination, just a message in a bottle. And you're the bottle now. You carry stories. You carry dreams. You carry Earth. Even in this imaginary sailboat of photons and sleep, you carry something noble. And maybe that's the point. We may be alone right now, but we're not without meaning. You reach a hand toward the stars. They don't answer, but they don't turn away either. You imagine another being doing the same. Somewhere, someday, a small hand reaching into the dark, not to grab, not to conquer, but to connect. You might never meet them, but you've both made the same gesture. That's something. Besides, silence isn't emptiness. It can be a form of listening. And the universe? Maybe it's still listening. So you whisper something. Doesn't matter what. Maybe hello. Maybe we're trying. Maybe we're scared. Maybe we're okay. It floats from your lips into nothing, unheard, unreplied, but not lost. Because even in this dream of stars and science, of facts and stillness, you've always been part of something, even if it's quiet. And as you rest now, wrapped in thought, wrapped in stars, wrapped in breath, you realize sometimes the universe says nothing because it's waiting for you to say something first. There's something small, quiet, and golden drifting through space. It left Earth over 40 years ago. It doesn't text. It doesn't turn back. It doesn't ask questions. It just goes. Its name is Voyager. There are two of them, Voyager 1 and Voyager 2, both launched in 1977. Twin spacecraft built with 1970s tech. No touchscreen, no Wi-Fi, no sleek aluminum frame. Just wires, circuits, backup wires, and hope. And inside? A golden record. Not metaphorical. Actual gold-plated copper, carefully etched with the sounds and images of Earth. A kind of time capsule. A love letter. And you're drifting beside it now. Voyager isn't fast not by cosmic standards, but it's steady. Voyager 1 is the farthest human-made object from Earth, over 14 billion miles away and counting. Farther than Pluto, beyond the grasp of our solar system's magnetic fields. In interstellar space, it's not alone, but it feels alone. Still, it talks to us. Not in words, in radio signals. Faint, slow, like an elderly friend calling from the edge of a dream. Its antenna points backward, always aimed at Earth. Like a sunflower tracking a vanishing sun, the data takes 22 hours to reach us. Just a whisper from far beyond. You float closer to it now. It's not big, about the size of a small car, covered in golden foil, long arms stretched like insect limbs. And that gold record, it's bolted to the side, etched with diagrams, instructions, music. Bach, Chuck Berry, wind, rain, a heartbeat, a baby crying, hello in 55 languages. And this, to the makers of musical worlds, all times, it's beautiful and a little naive. But that's the point. It doesn't ask for anything. It doesn't expect anything. It just offers. You drift beside it, quietly, listening to the silent spin of its disk. If someone thing finds it, will they understand? Will they know what a heartbeat means? What a wave sounds like? What laughter is? Will they feel the ache of our smallness? Our boldness? Maybe, maybe not. But the gesture alone is magnificent. Because we didn't send Voyager to explore planets. Not really. We sent it to explore distance and faith, to say, we were here, and we tried to be kind, to encode our noise, our messy, beautiful, contradictory noise, and launch it into quiet. Even now, Voyager sails onward, its power slowly fading, its instruments dimming one by one. Soon, it will go silent, not because it failed, but because it reached the limits of its breath. And yet, it will keep going, for millions of years, through dark space, among cold stars, carrying its golden whisper. You close your eyes and imagine it, a future being light years from now finding this small relic, turning it over, listening, hearing the rush of waves, the rustle of leaves, a heartbeat, the sound of a kiss, the voice of a mother telling a story, a saxophone solo, and maybe they'll smile. Not because they understand everything, but because they understand enough that someone once tried to say hello. You drift again, slowly. The stars blur, time blurs, and in this dream, you become Voyager. Small, purposeful, full of stories. You sail past Neptune again, past the edge of the sun's reach, into the soft blackness between stars. No planets, no need, just going, just being. You remember the diagrams etched on the record's case, how to find Earth using pulsars, where to place the needle, how to spin the record. A map written in physics, not poetry. But maybe they'll read the poetry anyway, because music is physics, emotion is signal, and distance doesn't stop connection. It just delays it, and maybe that's enough. You open your eyes. You're still in your bed, still floating, still part of Earth, but a tiny part of you, a golden part, is already sailing, already listening, already whispering. This is who we were. This is what we loved. This is what it sounded like to be human. And somewhere in space, that whisper continues. Soft, steady. Sure, just like you, there's a beautiful fantasy we can't seem to let go of. Not warp drives, not wormholes, not teleportation. It's terraforming, the idea that we could take a dry, frozen, or hellishly hot world and turn it into a second Earth. Add air, add warmth, add lakes, rivers, forests, chickens, birthday parties. Take Mars and make it Montana. Take Venus and make it Vancouver. It's a dream, and tonight you get to float in it. You're drifting above Mars again now. Remember the dust, the red loneliness? But tonight, something's different. You see green, tiny patches of it, A row of algae blooms across a crater's edge, a glass dome glinting faintly in the dusk. Inside, plants, people, children learning to ride bikes in low gravity badly. It's the start of something. Terraforming begins small, with greenhouse gases, with factories designed not to produce oxygen but to trap heat. Because Mars is cold, too cold for puddles, too cold for flowers. But if we could warm it slowly, we might release carbon dioxide from the poles, thicken the atmosphere, raise the temperature by a few degrees, add pressure, just enough for water to melt, to trickle, to pool. Then, if we're lucky, very lucky, we introduce life. Not squirrels, not cows, but microbes, hardy little extremophiles, bacteria that breathe carbon dioxide and fart oxygen. Little terraformers, tiny pioneers. They wouldn't need thanks. They'd just work, silently, multiplying, building a breathable world one molecule at a time. You float above their invisible cities. You can't see them, but you feel their work. The atmosphere trembles with potential. Maybe in a few centuries, if we're patient, we'll walk Mars without helmets, watch clouds drift over red hills, swim in lakes filled with melted time. It's a beautiful thought, but it's not easy, because terraforming isn't just science. It's hubris, and hope, and more duct tape than we'd like to admit. We can't even fully agree on how to manage Earth. And now we're trying to repaint Mars? You smile, because humans are ambitious that way. Fix the roof after you move into the abandoned building. It's charming, and a little worrying, because nature doesn't always cooperate. We plant trees, but dust storms bury them. We heat the poles, but the air escapes to space. We build domes, but forget to replace the filters. Mars pushback, not aggressively, just consistently, like a puzzle that changes every time you solve it. But here's the quiet truth. Terraforming might not be about Mars at all. It might be about us, about proving we can nurture, not just extract, create, not just consume. It's about the fantasy that we can do better, be better, care more, because transforming a planet requires more than machines. It requires patience, restraint, kindness. You float down now, gently, touch the soil. It's still cold, still dry, but in the distance, you hear something. Not a storm, not a machine, but a trickle, water, running down a channel slowly, stubbornly. And beside it, a plant, just one, its leaves small, curled, bright green, trying, and you feel something deep inside you soften, because terraforming is really about reforming ourselves, learning to work with a place instead of against it, accepting slowness, celebrating survival, even if Mars never becomes Earth 2.0. Even if the dream remains just a dream, the act of trying still means something. It's an act of tenderness, of reaching out, of saying, "You're not dead, not yet, let's grow something." And Mars listens, not with ears, but with silence. And maybe, one day, it will answer, with moss, with clouds, with a breeze that doesn't need a machine. But tonight, you rest beside the first leaf. You touch its stem with your gloved finger. It bends slightly, doesn't break, resilient. Like us, the stars above you flicker, the soil beneath you crumbles softly, and a little breeze generated by machines, but still lovely, brushes your faceplate. You don't need to breathe Martian air. Not yet. Maybe not ever. But the dream is there, growing, and so are you. You open your eyes, or maybe not. It's hard to tell anymore, because where you are now, up and down, are suggestions, optional, agreed upon only by convention. You're inside an O'Neill cylinder, not just any space station, but a world, an entire rotating habitat, a city folded into a ring, spinning gently, generating gravity, not with mass, but with motion. Take a breath. Look around. You're standing again. It feels like standing on the inside wall of a massive cylinder, tens of kilometers long, 5 kilometers wide. Above you, a curved sky, not blue but green and gold and silver. Trees grow sideways. Rivers arc overhead. Tiny houses dot the land in a slow spiral of life. You're not falling. You're not floating. You're just held. The cylinder spins at just the right speed to simulate Earth's gravity. The force pulls you gently toward the wall beneath your feet. Technically, you're being flung outward, but it feels like down, and that's all the body needs. Down is subjective. Always has been. In space, everything is. And in this quiet little world, gravity is a decision. A designed illusion. An agreement between motion and belief. You start walking. The air is warm, clean, maybe even sweeter than Earth's. Artificial? Sure, but lovingly so. There's a farm over there, rows of corn growing in gentle curves. A river bends around a hill, then disappears up and out of sight only to return from the other side. It's like living inside a looped painting. Above, you remember, that means inward mirrors reflect sunlight into the cylinder. Not blazing, not harsh, just soft, filtered warmth. Engineered daylight. And when the mirrors shift, evening begins. Not because the sun sets, but because we told it to. That's how it works here. Everything is planned, measured, balanced. You pass by a family sitting in a floating cafe, well anchored, but overlooking the rotating horizon. They're sipping coffee, watching children chase a bouncing ball that never quite moves the way it would on Earth. It arcs longer, hangs in the air, feels more graceful. Artificial gravity isn't perfect, but it's close enough. The floor hums faintly beneath your feet, a reminder that everything here is moving. You too. You sit on a bench. There are butterflies, heterogenetically tweaked to navigate the slow spin. Their wings shimmer, not from sunlight, but from LED skies programmed to mimic clouds. Someone hands you a fruit. You take a bite. It tastes like Earth, or the memory of Earth. Same thing. This isn't a space station. It's a civilization, built not to survive, but to live. And that's the beauty of an O'Neill cylinder. It's not cramped, not industrial. It doesn't feel like a box. It feels like a second chance. To design a world with all we've learned. To keep the good. Leave out the noise. Cities here are small, walkable, built with trees and wind in mind. Noise-cancelling leaves line the walkways. Solar panels hide beneath artificial moss. Windows tint themselves based on your mood. And no one honks. Ever. You could stay here forever. And maybe people will. Because Earth has limits. Population, pollution, pandemics, politics. But this place, this cylinder drifting through space, it has possibilities. Some are already dreaming of hundreds, thousands, linked like pearls on orbital necklaces, rotating, glowing, supporting each other, each with a slightly different culture, one known for poetry, one for physics, one for chili peppers, a constellation of human quirks, freed from gravity's monopoly, but not from meaning, because even here especially, Here people still argue about what color the sky should be. They went with blue, with a little purple near sunset. Very tasteful. You lie down on the grass. Real? Synthetic? Who knows? Who cares? It smells like summer. It tickles your skin. The spin of the cylinder makes you drowsy. Your body knows it's safe. Your mind begins to wander. Maybe these habitats will orbit the moon. Maybe they'll float near Mars. Maybe they'll trail behind Venus, like patient shadows. Each one a capsule, a world, a hope, built not out of escape, but curiosity and care. That's the secret. These aren't backups. They're expansions. We're not running away from Earth. We're building more Earths, each one with a different story. And in this one, you exist. You rest. You feel the gentle tug of gravity created just for you. Time slows down, but not in a poetic way, in a physics way. You're gliding now not on a sail or through a cylinder, but along the edge of a strange invisible river. You're approaching a truth that stretches sleep itself. Time isn't absolute, and right now, you're floating through a part of the universe where time drips. Not ticks, drips. You're passing near a gravitational well, maybe the edge of a black hole, maybe the surface of a massive planet. But whatever it is, it's pulling more than your body. It's pulling your seconds. Let's slow things down, literally. Out here, time bends. Not metaphorically, not in a song lyric. Actually, Einstein figured it out, not with a telescope, but with paper and thought. Time and space are not separate. They're one thing, space-time, a flexible fabric, and gravity isn't a force, it's a curve. Objects with mass bend space-time, and when space-time curves, time stretches. So the stronger the gravity, the slower the time. That means you, floating near a black hole, experience time slower than someone far away. You stay for an hour, someone else might live a year. You blink, they age. You nap, they forget what you look like. This isn't science fiction, it's GPS. Your phone already accounts for gravitational time dilation. Satellites orbiting Earth tick slightly faster. If we didn't adjust them, your maps would lead you into lakes and disappointment. But you don't need to solve equations tonight. Just feel it. You're drifting near a gravity well, slowly, carefully, and time moves like syrup. Thick, warm, sweet. Your breath slows. Your thoughts stretch. A single second pulls into a minute, and you wonder, what is time? Really? A river? A spiral? A convenient illusion? You think about the twin paradox. Two siblings. One stays on Earth. The other travels at near light speed. When the traveler returns, they're younger. It's real. It's weird. It's been tested. Time, it turns out, is personal. Relative, a conversation between mass and motion. And that's kind of beautiful, because suddenly, forever becomes flexible. A second could hold a lifetime. A year could pass unnoticed. Sleep might stretch longer than memory. You close your eyes. Are you moving fast? Are you just very near something heavy? Either way, you're drifting through elastic time. You see a star in the distance. It wobbles slightly warped by the gravity of what you can't quite see. That's how we find black holes. Not by looking at them, but by looking at what they bend. Even light can't escape them. But light fights. It curves around the edge. It dances along the event horizon. It throws its last shimmer in a ring of farewell. You imagine being that light, skimming the edge of time, not falling in, not flying away, just circling forever. And What's inside? No one knows. A singularity? An end? A doorway? It's not your job to solve it tonight. Just float near it. Feel the pull, the slowdown. You glance at a clock on your console. It barely moves. You glance at your hand. It does, but slowly. Each gesture like molasses. Each blink a chapter. And you remember something. Your dreams have always played with time. You've lived decades in minutes. You've watched sunsets that lasted an hour and a half. You've fallen forever. Maybe that's why time dilation feels familiar. It's the science version of dreaming. You glance out again. Everything is quiet. Still, but not stuck. Just slow, deliberate, peaceful. And it's comforting to know you don't have to rush. Because out here, rushing doesn't help. Out here, motion is relative. It's not about how fast you go. It's about where you go, when you go, and how you let the journey unfold. You think of the Earth again, spinning, orbiting, a ball of time dancing around a star, people counting hours, setting alarms, saying things like late, soon, not enough. But here, none of that matters. Because here, now is negotiable, and you realize that might be the most restful thing you've ever felt. Time will wait. It always has. You lean back. The fabric of space stretches beneath you. Your seconds become minutes. Your thoughts unravel like silk. You smile, because maybe you'll return to Earth having aged less. Or maybe you'll wake up tomorrow and forget everything. Either way, it's okay. You're not lost in time. You're wrapped in it, and it's soft. The silence returns. But this time, it crackles softly. Not with noise, but with radiation. Invisible energy, moving through space. Passing through your ship, through your body, through everything. It doesn't ask permission. You're floating now, just beyond Mars. The protective bubble of Earth's magnetic field is long behind you, and space-real Spaceedos come with sunscreen. Instead, it comes with cosmic rays, high-energy particles born in distant stars, in supernovas, in places that burned and collapsed before Earth even had frogs. They fly through space at nearly the speed of light, mostly protons, sometimes heavy ions, always determined. When they hit you, they don't hurt. You don't feel a thing. But inside, tiny fireworks go off. Molecules shake. DNA flickers. Cells raise an eyebrow. You're not in danger. Not here, in this drifting dream. But real astronauts are. Radiation is the invisible storm of space. There's no wind, no rain, just a quiet bath of particles. Long exposure, it wears down the body, increases cancer risk, damages the brain, fades memory like a too bright sun on an old photograph. But in the moment, you feel nothing. That's the strange part. Danger without drama. Just calm, persistent energy, always arriving. Space isn't trying to hurt you. It just doesn't notice you're there. Still, we plan. We build shields, layered walls, magnetic fields, hydrogen tanks that double as protection, and yes, bags of water. That's right. Sometimes astronauts surround sleeping quarters with water bags. Not for hydration, but for shielding, because water is one of the best protectors against cosmic radiation, and also, ironically, one of the heaviest things to launch. There's poetry in that. The thing that sustains life also guards it. You turn slowly in your ship. The cabin is dim, cool. Your breath fogs gently in front of you. A radiation meter blinks on the wall. It's subtle, just a number, always ticking up. but new alarms. No urgency, because space travel isn't a sprint, it's a negotiation. And you're very good at going slowly. Outside the window, solar particles sweep past, not in clouds, but in sprays. The solar wind never stops. It carries light, magnetism, particles so small you'd never catch them in a net. But they shape the solar system. They carve comet tails. They stir auroras at Earth's poles. They whisper across the emptiness, looking for things to touch. You remember how Earth protects itself. Its magnetic field, a giant invisible umbrella, it catches solar particles and redirects them. That's why we have the northern lights. And the southern, curtains of green and red dancing in the sky, caused by a planet quietly deflecting the universe. But out here, no umbrella. Just you, and a thin wall, and a lot of hope. Still, you feel okay. You feel calm, because this is what the universe is made of. Radiation isn't alien. It's ancient. You are made of atoms that have been hit by it before. You are radiation, in a way. Your body glows faintly in infrared. Your brain hums with electricity. Your skin emits light too soft to see. You are not untouched. You are part of the exchange. And yet, we still wonder, how much is too much? On Earth, we wear sunscreen. In space, we wear calculation. Missions to Mars will require years of exposure, so we plan carefully. Some propose burying habitats under Martian soil. Some suggest magnetic shields. Others imagine entire ships made of water-wall-clear corridors with floating jellyfish. That last one might have been a dream, or a French sci-fi film. Hard to say. You float past the shielded area now. It's lined with polyethylene, a fancy word for very smart plastic. Plastic that absorbs radiation better than metal. Plastic that doesn't rust, doesn't complain, doesn't conduct heat the wrong way. It's humble, and that humility saves lives. Funny, isn't it, that we crossed oceans and planets only to be protected by Tupperware? You lie back again. The hum of the ship continues. The radiation meter ticks quietly. The storm outside never stops. But you're okay, because you understand now. Space is not dangerous because it's angry. It's dangerous because it's indifferent. And that indifference teaches us something. It teaches us to care, to build, to prepare, to huddle close, to design softness in the face of cold data. We wear helmets. We drink filtered water. We talk kindly to our nervous systems, because space won't protect us, but we can protect each other. And now, you close your eyes. The storm continues. Invisible. Unapologetic. But your breath is steady. Your body, a quiet shield. And your dreams? They glow. Faintly. You've seen the stars. Touched the moon. Floated through dreams of Mars, Venus, and Europa. Sailed on light. Rested in cylinders. Listened to golden records whisper through the dark. And now, let's tell the truth about something. Space travel is boring. Not in the way that makes you yawn, but in the way that humbles you. In the way that long plane rides humble you. Where the landscape doesn't change, and neither does your seat. Where the snack is always slightly too crunchy, and the view always slightly too distant. Yes, we romanticize space. We imagine wonder at every corner, every blink a new galaxy, every day a revelation. But the reality? Much of space travel is routine. Wake up, check systems, drink bagged coffee, exercise for 2 hours, log the same notes, fix the same wobbly panel with the same wrench, then sleep, then do it again. And somehow, that's the part that makes it beautiful, because even boredom, up here, is miraculous. Imagine you're floating in a spaceship and you're tired, not of the stars, just of the maintenance checklist. There's duct tape holding something together. Your toothbrush floats away. Your shirt smells like recycled air and tiny regrets. You sigh, and your crewmate laughs, because they've been there. They're still there. Space doesn't always feel like an adventure. Sometimes it feels like a job with less gravity and more Velcro. The great mysteries of the universe? Still very far away. But this loose cable? This stuck valve? That's urgent. And in a way, comforting. Because space is harsh. And you survive it by being boring, by following protocol, by rehearsing every step. Even if the view out the window is Saturn's rings, even if the stars look close enough to bite, still, you file the report. You clean the filter. You track your potassium intake. Because up here, every mistake is an echo. Every forgotten screw is a whispered hazard. So you do the small things, the quiet things, the repetitive things, and they keep you alive. There's something honest about that. Something human. On Earth, we glamorize moments. The launch, the landing, the quote that makes the history books. But those moments are brief. The rest is hours and hours of waiting. Careful, gentle, sometimes boring. Astronauts bring books. They bring movies on USB drives. They bring playlists and journals and very patient hobbies. One spent weeks photographing bubbles in microgravity. Another tried to juggle M. Miss, you do these things not because they matter, but because you matter, and you have time. Out here, the boredom is oddly nourishing. It slows your thoughts, stretches your minutes, teaches you to listen to your own breath, to the hum of the ship, to the creak of a wall cooling on the night side of orbit. On Earth, boredom feels like waste. Here, it feels like safety, because nothing exploding equals a good day. The rhythm of repetition becomes a lullaby. You want the systems to say the same thing. You want the checklist to stay the same. That's how you know you're okay. And when something exciting does happen, like a piece of equipment fails, no one cheers. They just breathe deeper, fix it, calmly, quietly, and go back to the routine. You sip your water now. It tastes like yesterday, because it is yesterday. Filtered, recycled, still water. You type a log entry. Today, I floated. Today, I tightened a bolt. Today, I remembered Earth smelled like rain. You pose, then smile, then delete it. Not because it's wrong, but because it's too poetic for a maintenance report. Still, it stays with you, floating here, waiting, not for drama, not for climax, just for the next calm hour, and the next, and the next, until you forget what it means to be in a hurry. Space slows you. It doesn't demand inspiration. It demands steadiness. So you close your eyes now, listening to the hum, to your own heartbeat, to the distant ticking of systems saying, all is well. And in this moment, you are the universe's maintenance worker. And that's enough. And now, here you are, back where you started, or maybe somewhere entirely new. It's hard to tell with space, because in the end, space doesn't really move you through distance. It moves you through perspective. You're floating again, but not through systems or near stars. You're floating inside yourself, looking back, not in regret, just in awe. You remember the beginning, orbiting Earth, wearing invisible spacesuits of air and comfort. Then the moon cratered and waiting. Then Mars, whispering of water and old dreams. Then gardens, gravity, and golden records. solar sails, Europa's hidden sea, the hush of radiation, the weirdly satisfying boredom of being alive in the void. You saw it all, not through windows, not through textbooks, but through imagination. And now you drift through a different kind of space, the kind where dreams and science overlap, where sleep and thought blend into something soft and permanent. You are, in every way that matters, a space traveler, not because you've launched, but because you've listened to silence, to time, to gravity, to boredom, to brightness, to yourself. You tilt your head gently now. The stars are still there, still blinking, still distant, but they feel a little closer, because they've shared something with you, not a message, not a warning, just presence. I qui promise that you are a part of all this, that your atoms were forged in stars, that your thoughts spiral like galaxies, that your dreams bend space-time in their own quiet way. And isn't that enough? Isn't that beautiful? Even if you never set foot on Mars, even if your body never leaves Earth, you still belong to space. You always did. You are the Voyager. You are the golden message. You are the garden and the gravity. You are the one who looks up and says, I wonder. Oh, so tonight, as your breath slows, as the pull of dreams begins to stretch across your thoughts like a soft magnetic field, as the stars arrange themselves in no particular hurry, you rest. You rest not because the journey is over, but because it never really needed to begin, because every moment of stillness, every slow blink, every quiet breath is already part of the story. No rocket required. The universe is still here. It always was. And so are you, floating, part of everything, forever. Tonight, you traveled farther than light, not through rockets or math, but through wonder, through stillness, through sleep. You drifted from the gentle orbit of Earth, through the silence of the moon, to the dusty plains of Mars and the floating farms of tomorrow. You slept in zero gravity. You listened to the sound of nothing. You learned how to pee in space and found poetry in recycled water and duct tape. You passed the shimmering clouds of Venus, dived beneath Europa's dark ocean, sailed on beams of light across centuries. You asked why the stars are quiet and watched a golden record whisper across the dark. You built worlds inside spinning cylinders. You stretched time like thread. You faced radiation with softness. And you admitted space can be boring and beautiful. And in all of it, you were already part of the story. A small spark, a quiet traveler, a sleeper made of stardust, drifting home. So now, rest. Let the stars fade softly behind your eyelids. Let your breath become slow orbit. Let the hum of curiosity lull you deeper. You are safe. You are enough. You are already floating through forever. End of script. Good night.